what you just did. We'll give you what you just did. That's
Right.
what.
Most
That's
people
what.
don't have as much. They don't have as much money
Yeah,
as
they
as
not. They can't. They can't be in the business of just kicking money
that's
back
right.
like that,
That's
Bert.
right.
It just doesn't
Everybody,
work that way.
everybody heard of Adobe if you've done anything on a
Yeah,
computer.
yeah. If you've done anything, you know Adobe is how well established they are. But
Yep.
let me check this sound real quick, Bert. Oh, and let me see something. Oh, okay. All
That
right.
was you.
Huh?
I said you were recording you.
What did you say? Oh, so Bert, you on here? You live too? Yup. Hmm.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Where's your other device? You got your other device? You can't hear it? Don't worry about it. But here's what I want to ask you. Um, just give your opinion. Just give your thoughts, right? I'm gonna play a clip.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Huh?
play this little clip. I don't know if you got your other device up so you can hear, um, but I'm gonna play this. I don't even know if this is gonna come through. That's the other part. Let me see if this clip will actually play. And this is Jamel Hill on CNN talking about a former boss, Bob Iger, for Disney. Because the idea here is a lot of media companies, they're saying that the Trump administration is attacking the different media companies, Paramount, whoever. An
Yep.
example would be The View. And so on CNN, they got into it. But the other thing is, um, many are saying that he should attack him, he should criticize him because a lot of what they're putting out there is rhetoric and a lot of it is just simply fake news. But let me play this little clip right here. And Bert, if you got another device you can bring up, go to my YouTube channel because it's live right now. But let me play this little clip.
The hot topic ladies get a stern view from the top. Tone it down, they're being told. Disney chief Bob Iger tells to soften their rhetoric and talk about more than just Donald Trump and politics. ABC didn't deny the report, but the Daily Beast says the stars pushed back hard. This comes as Trump's intimidation tour hits media companies, including Paramount, whose settlement talks sparked the sudden resignation of CBS News executives. Let's get into it. Now, we have someone at this table that has experienced a little
I'm
bit.
sorry. Maybe I should take this segment. Maybe I should take this
When
segment
a
off.
certain person was at a certain network, you experienced
With the same
this.
certain parent company.
With the same parent company.
This happened. What do you make of what is happening here?
Well, this is what.
Now I'm gonna freeze it right there because that's Jamel Hill. Jamel Hill, I don't know if you're familiar. Are you familiar with her?
No.
Yeah.
And my other device was not charged up. Yeah.
Yeah, but I hear something playing in the background, like you can hear
Oh,
it.
that's my TV.
And it's playing, right?
No, it's
Oh,
daytime.
that's just the TV. Okay. But anyway, so you can't hear it then. But could you hear you couldn't hear Jamel Hill talking, just you couldn't hear
Oh, I
CNN?
can hear it. I can hear it through your phone.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So um Jamel Hill, she comes from a sports background. She used to do like ESPN, different things like that. And now, well, they fired her, right? So she has her own podcast and she moves around different things like that. But the point that they're making here is she used to work for Disney because Disney is part owners, I guess, or if they own ESPN or something like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
she's talking about Bob Iger and the pressure that's being put on different media companies because the Trump administration is basically saying a lot of these media companies, they're basically eating off of him. They spend hours and days and weeks and seasons on hand talking about him. And if they had to talk about real news instead of enhancing or embellishing or adding hyperbole and rhetoric to what's going on with the White House, they wouldn't even survive as a company. They need to move around and find something else to talk about. But what are your thoughts on Trump and his, I'm not going to say media war, I wouldn't say that, but what are your thoughts about the way that Trump is dealing with the media companies? I mean, even social media platforms, you probably know he settled with Facebook for some things that was done when he was running for office years ago, and he settled for, I think, ABC or NBC, different media companies. They just did settlements. He even settled with Elon Musk for an amount of money. But what are your thoughts about it?
I think that his biggest concern is that they're always calling him out on his lies. And
And would you say, go ahead, I'm listening.
he's constantly being called out on his lies, where they catch him in lies. He'll say one thing when that's really not true, and he doesn't like it because the media, they pick it up. The media and the journalists, they pick up those things, and that's news. That is news when the president of the United States is saying things that aren't true.
But what about the idea that that's all they talk about? They like 85 to 90% of their programming, in the case of The
Well,
View, is all about President Trump. What about that?
I don't think so. I don't think it's all about him. But right now, there's a lot going on. Every day you wake up, there's something new. So that's why it's always constantly talking about him. If he
Yeah.
would just stop whatever that he's, stirring the pot, then nobody be talking about him so much.
Yeah, somebody in the comment, Michael Nelson, he says, The View is not just journalism, but adult teen women that never grew up.
Adult
I,
teen women.
well, I was just reading it. That's why it made me laugh
Oh, I don't
organically.
watch The View,
Oh,
though.
I don't
See,
watch
I
The
don't
View
watch.
either. It's nothing that makes
I
me
don't like
watch it.
that.
It's just that Bob Iger. They said that Bob Iger was suggesting to The View that they back up on the rhetoric about Trump and actually do something else. It's just that this guy's comment was kind of on point. I'm gonna play some more of this with Jamel Hill, but as Jim Meckham says, The View would not exist without Trump. I'll say this because
Oh,
it's
I don't know
not
about The
just.
View, because I don't watch it.
Oh, okay. I'll say this not just about The View. I don't know if it's absolutely true, but a lot of media, a large percentage of what some of these programs, some of these podcasts cover with Trump, if Trump didn't exist, their lifeline would be reduced. They would have to be, sophisticated enough, crafty enough, or skilled enough, or awarded in such a way that they would have to move around and actually talk about different stuff. I'll talk about my channel, for example. Thousands of people that subscribe to my channel subscribed as a result of me covering Trump, not badgering him or beating him, just covering the news about Trump, like the White House briefings and him discussing different things with other leaders throughout the world and different policies he implemented in the executive orders. I'm not even gonna lie. I can't lie because it's just that part is true.
But
So, oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Bert.
he's constantly making news.
Right.
He's not stopping. It's like we don't know what we're going to wake up to Monday morning.
Oh yeah,
We don't know.
I got you.
We
Absolutely.
really don't. And so you can't prepare yourself to talk about something else when he's constantly making headlines.
But our media
So what else are they
companies,
going
uh,
to? Yeah.
our media companies sitting there saying something else coming. Let me play this little clip.
With the
Experience
same
this.
certain parent
With the
company. With the same certain parent company.
What's happened? What do you make of what is happening here?
Well, this is what this entire culture and media environment, like Trump is obviously, again, using his position as president to put pressure on these media companies. And I think a lot of them are capitulating and feeling that pressure because they have things and business deals and things on the side that they want to happen, that they want to do. And so to me, the disappointing part is that when you capitulate a little, as we've seen with this particular person, it does not matter. He doesn't care if you capitulate. If you give him what he wants, he's not going to stop asking for it. To me, it's just a simple thing of ratings. It's like, do the ratings support that you should stop talking about Donald Trump? Probably not. So if you are Bob Iger, who I do have a lot of respect for, he was my former boss, if you're him, that's the only thing that should matter. As long as the audience decides that they have an appetite for that, then that's what the women should talk about, whether you like how they discuss it or not.
Just
Facts.
to put a pin on that, the ratings are up from last year at The View.
So again,
the numbers do show.
Donald Trump
SE.
is back in office. So
Well-
that seems like it would make sense.
Right.
I think from I haven't worked behind the scenes anything, but from an editorial perspective, and I'm saying this not just as a conservative, but as someone who watches the news, watches a lot of television, I don't think that it's very good, whether it is The View or a conservative version of The View, to really lean into, I think, what is a lot of the hate that we're seeing when it comes to Donald Trump. There are valid criticisms to be made of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump doesn't need to be handled with like kid gloves or anything like that. But from what I see from The View, and I'm not someone who watches it all the time, but from the clips that I see of The View, I just say to myself, why is this a thing? The audience very well may respond to it in a very good way, but just like we asked the last time, what are you getting out of it? I don't know. And maybe it's just ratings.
You're
Maybe
getting
ratings
opinions.
is
You're
the
getting
things that you're
opinions that
doing out of it.
reflects people's opinions. I think that's why their ratings are up, and it's juicy.
It's what
right?
people want to talk about and
Yeah.
hear about, and I'm confronting that. Every time I try to do something other than politics, everyone just wants me to do politics. It's what people want to hear about.
They're telling you shut up in politics.
Yeah, but
So the lady that's talking now, she says she's confronting that issue. Every time she tries to do something other than politics, people
Right.
wants her to talk about politics. I'm gonna tell you something. I could just say this. Like, when I was just playing them talking about Trump,
Right.
there was 400 people, over 300 people in my chat, okay? As soon as I start talking, it went down to under 300, okay? So the thing is, like, Trump is news for everybody. Everybody's that has a business model, whether it be media or something else, they're eating off of Trump. The thing is, there's enough controversy or pushback, or as you say, lies that may be being told coming out the Trump administration without people adding hyperbole and embellishment and these other things, creating
true.
something else, right? So that's where I have to slightly agree that what appears to be news turns into fake news a lot of time. Because what happens is people have a good thing going on the mic talking about a particular thing, and then they keep it rolling, and the objectivity seems to get lost, if you get what I'm saying. What do you think?
Because they don't really care, because they have the viewers and they're getting the attention. So they're just going to keep it rolling. Whatever gives them the ratings that they want to get. But it's, Trump's not going to disappoint. So they're going to have news probably for the next 3.5 years. Hopefully it'll just be calmer news. Unfortunately, it won't be anything that we're the rest of us are really interested in and want to do. It's something that he walked out the other day with the MAGA hat that says Gulf of America. So now he's pushing them. What's he going to sell those? The whole thing is unbelievable to me.
So you think it's just a money grab, or a lot of it is a
I
money
really think
grab under the name of
He's
the
been
president?
grabbing money since day one.
Yeah.
Since day, I mean grabbing. I mean grabbing like the world's coming to an end.
Yeah.
Grabbing, and I've sat there in awe. So I got so disgusted with it, I had to stop watching it for a while because I just couldn't believe he was doing all that stuff with the tariffs and up to 145% with China down to no tariffs. I, mm, mm, mm.
Yeah, someone ADP positive approach care just
Yeah,
commented that as a Canadian we are boycotting American products, elbows up. So I don't know. I'm not. For a minute there, everybody was showing a lot of the Canadian thing going on, Canadians' response to the tariffs and different things like
Right.
that.
That's true.
I'm
True.
not sure what it is, since it seems like Trump had pulled back on the whole tariff thing for the Canadians. I don't know what that means. I don't know what their
Now,
stand is now.
we're working on the free speech thing now.
Hmm.
That's the project.
So here's a fair question, a comment by a gentleman, Jim Meckham. He says, okay, all right, Trump grabbing money. What about the money that was being grabbed with the Biden administration? Because
And
some argue, and I think it's a good argument, Biden was grabbing money, his family was involved with it, and everything was there to suggest that, put it that way. Do you think that the Biden administration, do you think that Biden was grabbing money with his family? He was using this office to set up business deals? What are your thoughts?
oh, I don't know. I don't have any knowledge of that, but maybe so. I don't know.
Okay.
But how come the media should be on top of that too? So do you think they're just not reporting what Biden is doing?
My take on it is this. My take on it is whoever controls the media, and who is two things going on. There's some control of the media, and then there is the media. So the example would be, if I have some influence and some control of the media, that's one thing that I have going on. And then there's the media stance on me. So if the media is pro me, or if the enemy, how does it go? If the enemy of my enemy is my friend, or however that
Right.
saying is, then all of a sudden there's a perfect storm. It seems like we're in alignment. I'm promoting one thing, I'm getting this coverage, and so and so. I don't think that that's the case with Trump. When I'm watching CNN or I'm watching certain other media outlets, I don't think that he's getting that fair shake. I don't. Example would be the other day in the White House, he had the president of South Africa in there, and I think that he kind of ambushed the president of South Africa, hitting them with these videos and all this propaganda about, there's genocide going on in South Africa and all of this stuff. I'm not saying
Right.
it ain't. It's just that the way that it was done, that's typically not the way I've ever seen world leaders do it to each other. Okay,
And
so
how come it was televised?
there you go. That's what I'm saying. I agree with that.
So we televised that, and we televised Zelensky.
But here's the thing, though. The control of the media was the White House decided what media would be in that room to get exposure to
Absolutely.
that experience. But here's the thing. The stance of the media is different than the control of the media. The control of the media was he physically let certain ones in there. The stance of the media was the first question asked by the first media he called on or allowed after he made that statement or that presentation was about him accepting a plane. See that stance right there? See, that has, to me, that has nothing to do with whether what he just presented was true
No,
or
it
not.
doesn't.
That's
No, it doesn't.
intuitively, deductive reasoning would say the first question coming from somebody. Oh, why am I getting that feedback? To me, the first,
Hello?
yeah, it's crazy feedback going on. To me, the first question that would come from anybody in the room, no matter what outlet you were from, would be
Right.
about what he just showed, whether it
And
would be
those-
to challenge it or not. But it has nothing to do with whether it was true. You asked
Right.
a question about that. The first question that was asked, coming from the opposing media, their stance was, hey, they say you're going to take a plane. To me,
Right.
that wasn't right.
No.
That wasn't fair.
Right. But that was the media that he chose to be there.
No, I'm saying, listen to what I'm saying. There's control of the media, and then there's the media stance. Those are two different things. The control of the media is you decide which media you want in there. So you can't have just all pro media in there. You decide what networks, right? Their stance is different than who you let in there.
Right.
Their stance might not be with you, may not align with you. So now you're not going to be able to control what they ask. Those are two different things. That's why when people say, oh, they control the media. Well, control of the media is limited. Because controlling the media means I can physically allow you in the White House Oval Office. You can't control my stance, though. So that's why after I presented something, good, bad, or ugly, true or not, falsehood, propaganda, all that, you ain't gonna get no argument out of me. You couldn't control them action, which to me, a crazy question, which was about a plane.
And that was probably the Daily Beast.
Whoever it was, they was out of order to me. That goes to show you how you're not there to cover the news.
That's the lower part. That's the part of the media that he wanted to have there, like like the National Enquirer. And I'm not saying they were there and stuff, but I'm saying he wants that kind of. He wants sensationalism, but they didn't go to his. They didn't lean to him. They leaned to what they wanted to, what they thought their public wanted to hear about.
Yeah, but how do you? Okay, so if I cover an airplane crash, the first question is about Walmart.
No, I'm saying the media is going to ask what they want.
There you go. So that's where the control cuts off, the stance kicks in. Somebody made a good point. They said in order to change things, sometimes you have to provide a valid point. Sometimes you have to do things unexpectedly. So I guess they're saying that shock it, that unexpected puts you on the spot. But I think that what he did in the White House with the president from South Africa, it just exposed how much class and how the president handled himself. What do you think?
Yep. Yes, I agree. The president of South Africa.
Yeah, he handled himself really well on that.
Yes, he did. Yes,
Yeah,
he did.
he wasn't shaking. He wasn't fretting that. He was like, hey, I've never heard of that. And you know what?
But he wasn't expecting that.
He wasn't expecting
that
it.
when he got off the plane.
Man, he handled that. He handled that like a boss. I was like, yeah, that was pretty dope what he did. I thought it was. Yeah, so Bert, you can jump off whenever you want. I'm gonna play this other part of this clip. But just let me know when you gone or whatever. It's cool.
Okay.
And let me see. Because this lady, she talks about it. She says, look, I have a show, I have a program, and every time I go to talk about something else, my viewers,
Want to talk about him?
they want me to talk about politics. Let's see what she says.
Every time I try to do something,
Back it up.
Ratings are up, and it's juicy.
it's what
right?
people want to talk about and
Yeah.
hear about, and I'm confronting that. Every time I try to do something other than politics, everyone just wants me to do politics. It's what people want to hear about.
They're telling you shut up in politics.
Yeah,
basically.
but we're living in a time where the business of journalism is coming up against journalism. And we've seen that at the Washington Post with Amazon. Right. We've already seen it at ABC with that $16 million settlement to Trump over a lawsuit they
Bert,
easily
you can hear
could
what
have
I'm
won.
playing, right?
We're seeing it at CBS. We're seeing the business side. Journalism has two sides, business and editorial. Right. Usually, business leaves editorial alone.
That's how it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be. And now, the business side, with these multi-conglomerate companies owning, including ours, our own, are becoming so important, so much more important. And the journalism product is one piece of their portfolio. So they're making decisions for the rest of their portfolio and shareholders. But the journalism gets the worst of it, the brunt of it, the impact. And it's deleterious and it's corrosive and it's going to lead to more. And the chilling effect, we're already starting to see it. Listen, I have my issues with The View. Yeah. I'm proud of the ladies for standing up and saying, we're not doing that here.
Yeah, somebody has to in this.
Look, there's already been a threat. I mean, Donald Trump has said out loud that he wants to take licenses away from media companies. So the threat has been put out there, and the fear, I think, from the media companies, not speaking for my bosses, but I am, is that perhaps there's something that they start doing to try and strip away your ability to do business.
And where's the
Montel Jordan is about to weigh in, Bert.
pushback? I mean, we got 3.5 years. When he's out of office, what are they going to talk about then? I just want to throw it out. So maybe I do 2 podcasts. I try to stay off politics completely.
It's a miracle.
And guess what? I've got, my ratings are up, my numbers are up. People are listening because people reach out to me and say, well, I'm glad you're talking about that. And I do things like, people suffering from MS, people suffering from PTSD. I do things like that because I think that our nation needs to be engaged in other conversations than just what he's doing every day. Because by talking about him every day, I'm glad the ladies push back, but I would like them to take a trip outside of The View.
Oh,
Please,
no
honestly, from
kidding.
there, can you go to Cleveland? Can you go down to Miami? Can you go to, just for a couple seconds, just to see what's going on?
Yeah.
Well,
And-
but we also have to worry about what is this message that's being sent to younger journalists, because that's what I worry about as well. At a time where our profession is completely under attack, I came up in the journalism environment where you didn't let City Hall come after your reporters. You defend.
Bird, I just got corrected by somebody from Russia, and they're absolutely right. Their name is Vladimir Sokov. I know I'm saying that absolutely wrong. I'm twisting his name up. I apologize, but he just checked me. He said it's Montel Williams, not no damn Montel Jordan. Montel Jordan is an R&B singer, and he's absolutely right. I'm gonna say shout out to Vladimir for checking me on that, because you damn sure know what you're talking about. I was out of pocket with that. I take it back. But let me it finish the play. This is Montel Williams, as Vladimir let me know, and Jamel Hill.
Them. And to see, and I know they're not straight journalists necessarily on The View, but it's still representing a journalism body. So if the business that you work for, and again, y'all know I went through this at ESPN, if they're not willing to defend you in this moment, that's really leaving you vulnerable, and it's really leaving our entire industry vulnerable. It's not just about this for the ladies, it's about what this represents. You already gave them $15 million. You think these assholes will stop?
Cool.
No,
I'm gonna holler at you
it's
later
this
on.
today,
I
it's
love
something
you,
else
man.
tomorrow. So at some point, you have to draw the line.
Okay.
Bullies just keep bullying when you keep giving them things.
Correct.
That is what my grandmother always used to say.
Good evening. I'm Abby Phillip in New York. Let's get right to what America's talking about. An unprecedented move in Donald Trump's war against colleges. Homeland Security throwing the weight of the federal government on Harvard, denying all international students from attending the university and telling the current foreign students to immediately transfer or get deported. Now, that's about a quarter of the student population at Harvard. The administration has accused the Ivy League school of fostering violence, fomenting anti-Semitism, and even coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party. Trump has demanded control over what Harvard can teach, who they can hire, and the administration is demanding disciplinary records of international students, or they will lose their federal funding. Kristi Noem says that they're making an example of Harvard.
This should be a warning to every other university to get your act together. Get your act together, because we are coming to make sure that these programs, that you are facilitating an environment where students can learn, where they're safe, and that they're not discriminated against based on their race or their religion.
There's no question, Montel, that this will have a devastating impact on Harvard if it is carried out. About 27% of the entire population, large portion of the graduate schools. And, they're already challenging the administration on the money part of it. But this is also about the money, because those students pay full freight.
What's so crazy is that we educate foreign students not just because we're giving them American values, which include things like freedom of speech and also the rule of law. How dare we say we're going to kick you out just because, in this particular case, it started because of that young lady from Tufts University who wrote that op-ed piece that criticized Israel, didn't go after Israel, didn't threaten Israel.
I have to say, she didn't even, the op-ed was about the university's response to protests.
You
It
read
wasn't
it,
even
it-
so
it
much
was-
about the bigger issues.
It was unbelievable. I really enjoyed the op-ed piece. So my perspective is, okay, if we're going to kick them out and say we're not going to educate you here, who's going to educate them? We want China to do it for us? Let's keep doing this. Or we're going to ask Harvard, you know what, go ahead and put a campus, Harvard, London, and let the money flow there. When you said 27%, we're talking about 40-something hundred students. Think about the impact on Boston. Think about the impact on the best and brightest minds from the world who come here to teach us and learn things about research and learn things about breakthroughs. That's not going to happen anymore.
When we talk
It's
about
crazy.
trade surpluses, this is a place where the United States has a huge trade surplus. We export so much education. People are paying us from all over the world for the one thing that we have that they don't have, our American universities.
Correct.
But for the Trump administration, they're going to do this regardless. Harvard is saying in a statement, the government's actions are unlawful. This retaliatory action threatens serious harm to Harvard's community, our country, and undermines Harvard's academic and research mission. The Trump administration, want to have a governing hand in a private institution. And there's really no precedent for that.
I don't know a lot of people who are shedding a tear for Harvard tonight. They made their bed. They allowed anti-Semitism to run rampant on their campus. And it dates back to before the op-ed. It dates back to that viral moment where Congresswoman Elise Stefanik called out Harvard and the president couldn't answer a simple question and ended up losing her job over it. And this has been going on the campus for a very long time. Harvard, in fact, put out a study. They had a task force to study this that came out last month. And in the study, which CNN reported on, it said that Jewish students felt a need to hide their identity and reported being bullied and excluded on campus. They have every right to feel safe on campus when they're getting that education.
I totally agree. Doesn't that undermine, though, the argument that they're not doing anything about it? They put out their own study. I mean, they're
It took them that long to do.
Well,
what happened in Gaza was October 7th, 2023. It is May 22nd, 2025.
This is a new Harvard president looking back at what an old Harvard administration did. I mean, if you're right, like this document is based off of Harvard's own investigation of itself. Right. So how do you go before a judge and say they're not doing anything about it when they've already put out the plan?
Well, not just that, Abby. It's like, let's be real. I don't think this is even about anti-Semitism. This is about the fact that this feels very personal, that they're doing all these things at Harvard. I'm like, did Barron Trump not get in? Like what happened, right? And it's about what it says about how they want to control other universities. We already know how this administration feels about DEI. What if they go into use a historically black college and say, we don't like that you're teaching that. We want to take it over. And if you don't do what we say, it's about the precedent that is set. Because I promise you, if another president that wasn't this guy did this, everybody would be outraged. And I will agree with you, a lot of people aren't going to shed a tear for Harvard. And that's probably part of the reason they're picking on them. We live in a country that has a huge class divide. People look at Harvard and they consider it elite. It's easy to dislike Harvard because of what they stand for. So a lot of the American people are looking at this and say, why should we care about this university that just has these elitists and just has these people that look down on us, and especially in a climate where we are being increasingly anti-intellectual, where we have a government that is often belittling higher education. It's about the dangerous precedent that this sets overall in case they run against another university whose policies or principles they don't like.
Like their coordination with the Chinese Communist Party, which 3 days ago, the House Select Committee on the CCP sent a letter to Harvard, 14-page letter with 57 citations about their pattern of coordination. That should trouble every single American.
And I understand why you would say that, but let me just tell you this, Pete, is that and especially about this particular issue, I mean, a lot of us went to universities. I went to Michigan State. The first time I was ever called the N-word was at Michigan State. All right, there are other groups that are on campuses nationwide. I know a lot of black students can certainly identify with this. And we didn't see this energy. And I'm not saying that this energy shouldn't be there, because absolutely Jewish students deserve to be safe. They deserve to be protected, for sure. But why are you picking this? Why now? And I have to question, especially given their overall
I think
agenda.
what happened last night is a pretty good reason.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it isn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think probably a lot of Jews watching this are feeling the way I'm feeling, which is that I can't believe we're talking about this rather than the fact that two people were murdered because the terrorist who killed them believed that they were Jews and was chanting the exact same thing that Jewish students have had to hear chanted at them for 2 years. While he did that, who wrote a manifesto that reads exactly like the kinds of op-eds that are written routinely on these college campuses, that the comments on that manifesto are all completely in support of him. He is an outgrowth of the anti-Semitism on college campuses. And how are we not talking about that? That is the story. There is a culture of dehumanizing Jews that is rampant on the left. Nobody wants to talk about it. They're not going to listen to us. We need people on the left to say this is unacceptable. And when it comes to
is there somebody saying it's acceptable? Did I miss something?
I just don't understand why this is not the topic that we are talking about now.
I'll answer that, because we're not debating the depravity of what happened last night. That's why we're not.
That is not an excuse to deprive American Jews of hearing you talk about it, Abby.
What I'm saying now is that what happened last night was evil and terrible. And that's not a topic of political debate. It's not a topic of left or right, or you're on this side or you're on that side. It's just wrong. It's just bad. And I'm not going to set a table for there to be another side on that issue. That's why we're not debating it. But I do think that it's completely fair to bring up anti-Semitism in the context of this discussion, because that's what the administration says that the moves against universities are about in part. But I also think, there are protests, and then there is anti-Semitism. And I do think it's fair to say that those two things do not have to be and should not be the same thing.
But here's something we could actually debate. The fact that the terrorist who murdered those two people chanted not just Free Palestine, but the exact same way you hear it on college campuses, Free Palestine, that is a college campus chant. This is something we have to talk about.
So you think everybody who says Free Palestine wants to murder somebody?
Of course I don't think that.
Okay.
But my question is the expectation that Jewish students should have to go to college campuses and listen to people singing the song that the terrorist sang to justify his terrorist act? Is that something we're comfortable saying? I think the answer is obviously no. On Kristi Noem, specifically on this thing, she was very clear about what she had asked Harvard for that launched this. She asked them repeatedly to give her office information that they had of foreign students committing crimes or criminal acts, and they refused to do that. That is what launches. I just want to make one more very quick point.
Yeah,
the fact that 25%, 27% of college students at our elite university are foreign students, this is utterly unacceptable. There are hundreds of thousands of brilliant children being left on the table, children of color, children from inner cities, children from Appalachia, who deserve those spots and deserve that education. Why are we giving it to Chinese people? I don't understand
I think that's hold on a second. That's a super interesting point. I wish we had time to get to it, but one thing you mentioned about what they're asking for, the data that they're asking for. They're also asking for any audio, video footage in the possession of Harvard of any protest activity involving non-immigrant students on Harvard's campus in the last 5 years. That's an extremely broad ask. Anybody who has participated in a protest who
any non-immigrant student. That's what it says.
They're referring to visa holders, people who are at the university who are visa holders.
Our guests.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you are a visa holder, participating in a protest now gets you sent to the government in this country. Yes?
They are allowed to ask for that information.
I'm just asking, because I was not aware of that until today.
Yeah. So question for and the funny thing is that my WhatsApp was blowing up all day. I was with you. I didn't have time to, but my WhatsApp was blowing up all day because my Harvard cohorts were discussing this. And and so I'm coming in here today and we're having this conversation and I'm realizing I should have checked my WhatsApps because I was like, why are all of these? So all 3 classes that I took there to get my corporate board certification, most of the people there were foreigners. And so I think that what is an interesting topic here now, and it's not what Trump is doing. I do think that there's something personal here. I don't understand the targeting of Harvard directly. I also don't understand why Harvard takes so much money from the government, given how much we paid to go to Harvard. That's a whole other conversation. Right. Yeah. But here's the question though, is if you are taking that much money from the government, are you in fact saying the government can have some say-so in what it is that you're doing? Because anything that we take money from, at some point, we have to answer to whoever it is that we're taking money from. And so is there a solution for Harvard to just, and I don't know the answer to this, I just know my WhatsApp was going crazy all day. Is there a solution that Harvard just says, you know what, government, we're not gonna take any money from you. We are truly private, get out.
Well, I mean, that would be the answer, except that Harvard takes that money to provide a service, which is research. Which largely, by and large, it is research. That is what, and there are not, I think people think that research is happening everywhere all the time. It's not. There are only so many places who can do it at the level that they do it at the top universities, research institutions in the country.
Look at the Brigham and Women's. I have been a board member on Ann Romney's foundation at the Brigham and Women's for 10 years now, doing neurological research. That research costs money. And unfortunately, the way we have set up research in America, I did a study for a medical device over a course of 6 years, $100 million to do 2 double-blind studies. What? Why is research costing this much? That's the first thing. So universities like this have a lot of money. They have a huge endowment, but that endowment is going to actually pay for the petri dishes. They're going to pay for all the experimental, super duper MRIs and things that they have, and all the research, PET scans, SPECT scans, all those kinds of things. So, why do they have that kind of money? They have that money because that's what we've risen the cost of research to, and they've got to be able to fund it.
All right, we got to leave it there for that one. Coming up next for us, we have more breaking news tonight. Donald Trump hosting his dinner for investors of his meme coin in what Democrats are calling an orgy of corruption. Plus, Trump's agenda faces a do-or-die moment in the Senate, but Republicans are deciding the fate there, and they are warning that it's just not going to happen. We'll debate.